Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Carl's Conversations. We are on part two this evening of the men's perspective on the angry black woman versus the strong black woman. What's the difference? Yesterday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we did part one. It was a tremendous panel. We got a lot of great feedback from our ladies, and we are very, very pleased with that. And we're hoping that we're going to be helping some people see things from the other side. Married ladies, single ladies, young ladies, middle-aged ladies, vintage ladies. Everybody can gain something from what we're doing here. Now, I'm going to tell you, what I'm going to do is after today, I've already got the dates planned. The first weekend in February, I think that's the 5th and the 6th, or the 6th and the 7th, can't remember. I'm going to do this again, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have parts 1 and 2 mixed panels. I'm going to have the ladies and the men on together. Part 1 on Saturday evening, part 2 on Sunday evening. So we've done the ladies, we're doing the men, and we're going to come together and we're going to try to help each other with this angry black woman and this strong black woman. And we're going to let some strong brothers come in and say something. So I got a panel tonight. I have Leon, I got Mickey Leon, and I got Chris. And I'm going to let these brothers introduce themselves. We're going to start with Leon. Please tell the audience something about yourself, sir.
Wow. Good evening, everybody. My name is Leon Ransom. I'm an employee of the Innova Health System. I'm actually the Diversity and Inclusion Program Manager for all of Innova Healthcare. And it's just a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to the conversations. Been married in excess of 25 years. I understand the challenges, both as a husband, as a father, and as a son. So I'm looking forward to the experience. Thank you.
Awesome. Mickey Leon, introduce yourself, sir.
How you doing, everybody? My name is Mickey Leon. I am a cybersecurity professional / event producer, photographer. I actually do work a lot with women, black women, plus size women in my fashion show. So, and I have a wife and 3 daughters. So, yeah.
And you can tell by that voice, he ain't no player. He just used to crush a lot. All right, Chris B.
What's up, everybody? Chris Booker, originally from Richmond, Virginia. Norfolk State University brought me to Norfolk, Virginia, where I am now. Working in the music field, music and media. Never been married, but have a daughter. She's in her last semester in college right now. So that's me.
All right, we have 3 men at 3 stages of life and relationships, and we're gonna go at it again. Ladies, y'all make sure y'all start a watch party, share this video. And this lady right here, y'all, she the one started all this, Kimberly Cates Bell. All right, I know her husband Greg is probably watching. Greg, I want you to know your wife started all this. All right, gentlemen, we're gonna jump right in. We did the episode back in December, angry black woman versus strong black woman. What's the difference? And we did that to kind of throw it out there so the audience could see. And this wasn't just for black people. I would assume that whoever saw it, from whatever ethnic background you come from, they get this insight on what a black woman is thinking, right? And maybe explain it. And in my opinion, they did a great job at wrapping up the angry black woman and laying her in the coffin, closing the door, and sending her on her way. And they painted a beautiful picture of the strong black woman. Now, last night, when we got on with the fellas, we saw a little different picture, but that's good because we saw different perspectives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around robin. I'm going to start with Mr. Leon, then Mickey Leon, then Chris. And I'm just going to ask for a general overview of how you see angry black woman versus strong black woman. And then we're going to start jumping into some specifics. So Mr. Leon, take us away, sir.
Wow, thank you. The difference between an angry black woman and a strong black woman, it's so much of what we do and so much of what we deal with is based on perception. And when you talk about an angry black woman, I think it's really, it depends. It's like beauty. What's a beautiful black woman? Well, it's in the eyes of the beholder. And angry black women can come across as being threatening. They can come across as being demanding. They can come across as being spoiled. But when you talk about a strong black woman, It's a little different because they come across as being self-sufficient, independent, wanting their own. I don't need a man. And of course, I know y'all going to jump on that and we can discuss that. But at the end of the day, sometimes a strong black woman gets misperceived as an angry black woman only because she has an opinion and because she doesn't claim to be subservient. And I get that and I understand that. However, I think we all need to understand when you're in a strong relationship and when you look at it from a relationship perspective, it's not about how much better she is, how much better he is. It's how you can work it out together. So much of this is dependent upon perceptions that depending on the situation, you could be viewed as strong and you could take her and turn right around and be viewed as angry only because you have an opinion and a mind of your own.
Amen to that. Thank you. All right, Mickey Leon, give us your overview of angry black woman versus strong black woman. What's the difference?
Okay, so honestly, I've never really fed into the whole angry black woman thing. I feel like black women have gotten that label for many of the reasons that Mr. Leon said before me. The perception of being strong, being independent and whatnot. I feel like that label has just kind of been thrown out there saying that, oh, she's angry. She's not really angry. She's passionate. Now, let me say this. There are some behaviors that, that we definitely don't like, or that, I don't agree with. Some of the ones that are always upset about something, but they can't really pinpoint what that is or give us a reason or try to use the excuse of I'm independent, so I think that kind of plays into the angry black woman trope, so to speak. But I think that black women are a lot more complex than just being labeled angry, because they're passionate about whatever it is that they're passionate about. And I think that there needs to be some type of discussion like you have now to kind of define what the differences are, and then for the guys like you're doing right now, for the guys to be able to tell you kind of how we see it. So I would say my perspective comes from years of dealing with different types of black women in the ways that I have dealt with them. So 10 years ago, I didn't have that perspective. 10 years ago, I definitely thought, maybe not, oh, they're all angry, but they all got some kind of issue, some kind of problem. And that was because of the things that I had seen. But, over the years, having my daughters, working with all of these different types of women that I work with, all these different black women that I work with at different types of education levels. I work with so many women who have been abused, so many women who have been through like hell, whether it be their own fault from the decisions that they made with relationships or whether it not be. So my perspective is a little bit different. So hopefully, we'll be able to get into and I can talk a little bit more about that. So I just feel like when we're talking about angry black women, so to speak, you got to qualify why you say that.
I appreciate that. Chris B., what is your perspective, sir? Angry black woman versus strong black woman. What's the difference?
Wow. Man, I agree with both of the brothers, man. Like they basically said everything I was thinking. I think a lot of it just stems from, like you said, perception, stereotype. The women in my life, they're great black women. So I can't really say, even from exposure or experience, that I personally experienced an angry black woman like in real life. But it can be easily misconstrued between the strong black woman, like the attributes of a strong woman, that can be misunderstood from different areas. Like whether it be a non-black male looking at it, or whether it even be a black male maybe in relationship with a strong black woman, but maybe he's just lazy. Maybe he just doesn't want to step up in various areas, and she's challenging him to do so, not even for her benefit, but for his own benefit, for his legacy's benefit even. And that perception can be formed from that. Everybody's a sum of their parts. So a lot of it also is just understanding that woman. Like every woman has a different story, a different background. So sometimes just merely having a conversation with that person, you can truly understand where they're coming from and really debunk whether it's a stereotypical thought process that you have, or whether it's just a strong black woman that's facilitating moves, and like you just watching like, wow, okay, I can't do anything but help to acknowledge that she's strong, she's doing what she needs to do. And my thought process, I've just been looking at it all wrong.
That is great. Already we've had 2 comments about labels. And that did come out when I interviewed the ladies. They really do feel unfairly labeled. And during that conversation with the ladies, a lot came out about the journey and the hardships of the black woman, which I absolutely honor. I love the sisters. And this is not meant to throw stones. This is meant that, hey, let's come together. I'm going to throw a question at y'all. This is an open question. Who will want to jump on it first? Do you feel like maybe that label may have come from the failure of the brothers to stand up in our rightful place for whatever the reason and be that strong black man in his place, doing what he's supposed to do so that she won't be angry? Maybe what we're not doing or doing may have caused the anger. This is what I'm asking. Open question. Who would want to jump on it first?
I can jump on it.
Go ahead.
All right, so I would say this, since you asked about, the role of the man and whatnot. I think that has a lot to do with, it has a whole lot to do with how things are seen and perceived. Because I'm going to say this, and the guys can get mad if they want, it's fine, whatever. If you have a strong, like if you are in a relationship with somebody, a woman, and you're doing everything that you're supposed to do, 9 times out of 10, she's not going to be that angry woman. She's not going to be what a lot of people see and complain about. Oh, she won't submit. She won't be doing this. She won't be doing that. What woman? Nobody's going to submit to you or do anything like that if you're not showing her that you can do what you're supposed to do and take care of her. So when you see these discussions going on online between these guys talking about what women aren't doing, my question for them is always, well, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing in that relationship with her? Like, are you actually with her? Are you taking care of her? And that don't just mean financially. She might make more money than you. That's fine. Are you making her feel like she's the only one? Are you protecting her? And I don't mean protecting by like going out beating somebody up. I mean, like, are you protecting her feelings? Are you making sure you don't have her out in the street looking stupid? Are you doing those things? When you're not doing those things, then yeah, she's gonna react real different to you, and it's gonna come off like what you see a lot of people complaining about. Oh, she's angry. She won't do this. She won't submit. No, she's returning the energy that she's getting from you. Like, I have 3 daughters, and I'm teaching them, like, not teaching them necessarily you don't need a man, but at the same time, you're not gonna sit there and be no sucker either. So, if these dudes aren't gonna treat you right, my 17-year-old daughter, I'll let her know constantly, if these dudes aren't gonna treat you right, you act accordingly. You don't need them. You got a daddy that can take care of you and pay for your stuff. You don't need somebody that's all they're trying to do. So to the men, since you brought that topic up, yeah, I mean, like, the question got to be, what are you doing? Because how you are acting will have a direct reflection. She's going to reflect that, in many, many cases, not all the time, but in many cases, she's going to reflect that. So we got to ask ourselves that question first.
And the fact that you are there as daddy reinforcing that's a whole nother conversation. We'll get into that too. Chris, Leon, y'all got anything to say about that?
Well, kind of that's what it boils down to, the fact that you're there as a daddy and how much that has to do with it. I'll tell you right now, there's a magnet on my refrigerator, and it's for my daughter to see and it's for my son to see. And the magnet is very simple. It said the best thing a man can do for his children is to love their mother. And I do that. I love their mother. I love her as my wife. I love her as their mother. I treat her with the utmost respect. I also let my kids know. I let my daughter know. She don't have to take no stuff from a man. She really, really don't. She's strong. She is independent. And so therefore, she don't need that. I'll tell you a true story real quick. She was 16 years old, was going out on a date with a young man. And the young man was 15 minutes late, 20 minutes late. And she's standing at the window, looking out the window. And she looked at me and I said, what are you doing? She said, well, I'm waiting for my ride. I said, well, here, let me just tell you what, and I'm going to leave it alone. That's strike 1. And she didn't understand that day what I meant by that. But guess what? Never got to strike 3 because she understands, because she started having these conversations. Of course, it's awkward talking to daddy as a teenager, but she started talking to mommy. And mommy said, just watch the way daddy treats me. And I pride myself on that, whether it's at home, whether it's at work. I've worked where hundreds of individuals have reported to me in a predominantly female environment, predominantly minority female environment. And it is so obvious that what these women look for, many of them, and I'll tell you this too, there's a socioeconomic factor as well. But what these women look for more than anything else is respect, kindness, to know that you care about them. And people get it twisted sometimes. Just because you tell a woman how great she looks or how much that don't mean you're trying to bed her. It's not even all about that all the time. I'm trying to make her into that proud Black woman that she should be. So, let's debunk a lot of these myths. Let's think about the fact that we guys have a strong role in how women feel in terms of whether or not they're strong or they're angry. Because guess what? How many times you talk about somebody trying to run game? As soon as you are verbally articulate, as soon as you're able to hold a conversation, they're like, oh, he's trying to play a game on you. It's not even all about that. It's trying to uplift you to make you a better woman so that you know what to expect. I want women to look at me and say, man, and I've had it happen. I'm not tooting my horn. Man, I'd love to have a husband like you, Mr. Leon. There's no better compliment that I can get, because that lets me know that I'm giving the woman the praise and the respect that she so much deserves. And when she has that, you don't have to worry about the angry piece. That label goes away.
Amen to that. Brother Chris, you got something on it?
I mean, again, I agree with the brother.
Muted,
something a thread that I did catch, even in the perception category, a lot of it can just be simple communication. I mean, human beings, we're not the best communicators, just point blank, period. And when it comes to perceptions, a lot of times we build what we think and feel over a person, even a prejudice, off of a perception. You'd be surprised how much you could learn from just having an open conversation with a person, even without trying to come to a pass, but just listening, just understanding. So even when it comes down to black men and Black women, a lot of it's just simply like interpersonal skills, like learning how to communicate, learning how to talk. Like, if you got daddy issues, talk about it. If you got mom issues, if you got whatever issues, whether male or female, like sometimes it's relative to just have those straight, honest, blatant conversations. And a lot of times a person that cares for you, that loves for you, they're not going to try to change you, but they're going to try to help you through that, because maybe they've been exposed to something that can help teach you, or vice versa. So it's no longer like we're being pitted against each other, and this perception of angry woman is almost like an inherent prejudice. It doesn't have to be. A lot of times it's just simple communication can just really just knock a lot of that stuff out. And then when we get to that point and we can realize, like, wow, like, we are supposed to be a team, like, a lot of that stuff just goes out the window from there.
Wow. I'm going to share something with you, and hopefully Leon's sound is back. Okay.
I'm back.
Okay, cool. So this is something that I talked to my wife about, and I experience this at my place of business now and before. Whenever I see the sisters, I'm automatically drawn to them because I know their story, right? And I'm a protector by nature, right? If somebody is messing with a sister and my problem, hey, if I never seen her before, it's just like I'm her brother. I'm gonna step in. You're not gonna mess with this sister and my presence. So that's my mindset, right? So I'm friendly. I always like to say, hey, how you doing? To start a positive rapport. But so often you get that, and I have, it's been on the tip of my tongue to say, I don't want you. You know what I mean? The woman I got is the woman I want. I am being kind and hospitable and trying to start a positive dialogue with you so that, we can be brothers and sisters to one another. But I was talking to my wife about it because I was so frustrated. And she said, baby, you'll be surprised how many men are not like you and how many will run game to the point where We don't even want to look a man in the eyes, because to some men, eye contact means you want me, and they will pursue, even if they know you're in a relationship, married or whatever. And so I think that little things like that help to fuel the angry black woman label. But my wife really helped me to understand what that was. She spoke out of her personal experience. Have any of you ever really dealt with that, and what's your experience with it?
I've dealt with it more often than I'd like to say. I mean, I've been around for a minute, and having understanding women, understanding what they deal with, understanding what they go through is part of my maturation. In the fact that, what, if I speak to you and I'm being courteous and polite, and you don't respond, that is your choice. I work very hard now not to take this personal. It's just the fact that, what, we're just in two different spaces in terms of how we interact and how we get along. But Carl, you're absolutely right. There are a lot of times where you're speaking, most times, every time, you're speaking to be nice. You're speaking to be courteous. And then when they look at you and give you the side eye, it's like, really, it's not even that kind of party. So I think, sometimes you have to let your guard down to a point. And that's what happened. We've become so confident, and we've become hardened to so many people coming on to you. I'm here, the first one to tell you, ladies, not all of us brothers are bad guys. Not all of us want to get into your pants. Some of us do truly want to help you, and we want to put you up on a pedestal. It's hard to decipher, but we have to. It's an old saying: watch as well as pray. You really got to be careful, but you got to really feed into your instincts. So I think that's where we are. That's my opinion.
Amen to that. Go ahead, Mickey.
So, I'll say too, like so all right, women, a lot of women would say that they don't want a man to judge them based on past experiences, right? They'll say, I'm not the last woman you was with. Don't treat me like this, don't treat me like that. You got to give us the same respect when it comes to that. I understand that there are many women, many men who will pursue, like you said, and whatnot, but that is not every man. So you cannot approach every man in that way, because we feed off of our experiences the same way that women feed off of theirs. So some of us, and I've encountered it, do come across that. We say hi to a woman, hold the door for a woman, and then she want to look at you like you crazy. But I got a man. Well, I didn't ask you if you had a man. That's great. How do you? I don't believe you, first of all, with your attitude like that. But you can't come at us that way every single time. And I understand everybody might have a bad day. So I don't know what you went through that day when you saw me. I'll give you that. That may have been the culmination. I understand that. But we all, men and women, we have to remember that everybody's experiences are different. I'm not saying that you got to smile. I don't tell a woman to smile if she ain't looking like that. I know they don't like that. I don't do that. But at the same time, if I hold the door for you, you can't assume that I'm trying to get with you. That I'm holding the door for you. What you didn't see was the fact that I held the door for the guy behind me too, or, I ran up to open the door for a little kid that walked in too. So it's not you. You have to get over yourself. That's the number one thing that I think I give advice to my female friends when they have these kinds of complaints. I would tell them, get over yourself. Like, yeah, you pretty, you got this going on, you got that going on, but get over yourself. Don't assume every man that comes at you is interested in you. You ain't all that. You cool, but there are literally thousands upon thousands of you out there. So, and I don't say that in a negative way. I say everybody wants to feel like they are the best at whatever, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you also need to understand that not everybody wants you. And even if they do, when you approach them like that, when you come at the attitude like that you might have been a 10, you got knocked down to a 7 real quick just by the rolling of the eyes that you did. And it's not our fault. That is your fault. You got to own that.
Yeah.
So, some guys come at you and look at you and respond to you the way that they do because for the same reasons you respond to us that way, because they've been hit with so many different women. Well, all I said was, hey, good morning. And then now I got an attitude. You know, I ain't do it to you this morning. So, you know, get your coffee and chill out.
Chris, what you got?
I was the dude that Mickey held the door for, and I just came on through the door. So, you know, he said it right now. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
He said everything you was going to say, huh? Well, there was a question. Rachel Taylor asked, Carl, is anger confused with confidence, accomplished, aware, 100%, something he's not used to, and it's upsetting them? And I'm going to answer first, and I'm going to go right to Mickey. I think the answer could be yes, right? The answer could also be sometimes you can't always be the only judge of how you sound and how you look, right? If 25 men have told you the same thing, maybe it's time to consider, maybe, you know, it's not that somebody is pecking at you. Maybe we're trying to help you, right? You can be confident and not be disrespectful. You can be accomplished and not be snooty, right? Because I can guarantee you that when I speak, and listen, I've worked with Leon. I seen that he's smooth now, but I seen how he get down. He's never been disrespectful. And they go, hey, how you doing? I don't think a hey, how you doing with a smile deserves that. You know, why don't you return that same kind energy? And then if he goes left, you know how to correct it, right? But remember, and I've had this happen. I speak, you turn your nose up, and then you're on the side of the road because your car broke down. You have an expectation, I'm going to stop and help you. Mm-hmm. It can't be both. And I promise you, sisters, I'm not banging on you. I'm just trying to bring something out that will help. All right, Mickey, go ahead.
What was that question? I want to make sure I got it right. All right.
She said,
angry. Go ahead.
She said, can anger be confused with confidence, accomplished, aware, you know, stuff like that? And it could be that you're just not used to that, and that's upsetting you.
Okay, so like you said, cousin, it could be, but when you add all of those things together and then you add the attitude of I'm the on top of it, it is not confusion. That actually is anger, arrogance, whatever other A words you want to put with it. So yes, ladies, you can be confident, accomplished, aware, all of that, and that's great. But when you add all of those together and then on top of it, you stomping around like your mess don't stink too, and then you display that and you come at somebody with that, no, we're not confusing. That's what you're giving off. Because it's very easy for you to be like any human being to be confident, accomplished, aware, and all those things, and not be something that will get you called out of your name. So yeah, so we need to be aware of how we sound and what we are giving off, you know. And I say we because I don't want ladies to feel like, you know, like I'm coming at you like that. But you also got to be aware. And again, I work with hundreds of women like on a weekly basis, you know, in different ways, different, you know, Black women, all different ages, married, unmarried, divorced, never been on a date, all of that stuff or whatever, educated, super educated, everything. And you have to look at it. You work hard for what you got. I get it. You did, but you're still dealing with a human being on the other side. You're still dealing with a man, you know, no matter what level he might be at, you're still dealing with a man, a Black man at that, in most cases. So,
all right. Well, before you other two go, let me say something. Greg, he had a wonderful comment, and he had that directed. I think maybe he said, as a man, I'm gonna put this up. As a man, you have to be patient and keep polite and try to understand what women go through day in and day out. And over time, her guards will start to drop and she'll open up. Hey, Greg, I'm gonna tell you something. You sound like you've been around for a minute, and I will tell you that I have learned that over time. And actually having that conversation with my wife helped me to get to that point that you're talking about. So now I don't take offense so much when I first see that, because I do understand her response to me may actually be a reaction to her previous encounters which may have been negative. And yes, I'm in a position now where I will go the extra mile to be kind and show myself to be a good guy, so that those walls can come down. And Kim asked a question: is this a high occurrence? Does this happen that there are more that act like this than not? And Kim, in my experience, I can't speak for these other three gentlemen. Yes, it has been a high experience. I mean, a high occurrence. Now, I've been at my place of employment now for so long that even those who don't know me yet, my reputation most likely precedes me. And so I don't see it as much in the workplace as I used to. But outside of the workplace where I am unknown, yeah, that still happens. But the mature Carl handles that much better. Now, my younger years, it was a little rough. It was a little rough. Leon, Chris, y'all got anything on that one?
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I had to tag young lady Valerie made a comment a few moments ago that was very valid. She basically commented along the lines of the anger can just be misplaced hurt, miscommunication, bad experiences, whatever. It's like a secondary thing. And that just, to me, I've just learned in my experiences in life. Like I grew up, I went to private school. For the longest time, I was like the only black student there. So I'll equate it to race. A lot of times there were people that looked at me a certain way because I looked a certain way, or I held my head a certain way, or I dressed a certain way. And merely prejudice based on my look or even my response, which was a natural response coming from my culture or which street I lived on or how I was raised. I was the sum of my parts. So then if I look at women in a similar way, I can't tunnel them into this angry thing, because I totally understand simply having a conversation can enlighten you on why a person is the way they are. You know what I'm saying? I had a college professor that gave an example at one point. They were like, imagine, all us fellas are sitting in the man cave chilling at Mick's house, and he gets up and slams the door. We could attribute that to maybe his team didn't score, so he's upset. But literally, maybe his door is broke. So if he doesn't pull it too solid, it won't latch properly. So just simply having a conversation to the point where we understand that concept, it frames that simple action totally different. So even with black women and black men, whether it's holding the door, whether it's speaking, whether it's any type of interaction, a lot of times it can be framed from male to female as, oh, she's just angry, she's just upset. And she could have a whole world of other things occurring, and it's just a conversation.
Yeah, that's right. Leon, you had something for us.
Wow. I certainly echo what you brothers are saying. And I couldn't help but think back, I'm just like, okay, so we're talking about arrogance. We're talking about attitude. We're talking about being angry, but it's also, or versus confident versus, have my stuff together. Let's go back, ladies and gentlemen, a few months ago. Let's go back to the vice presidential debate. And let's go back to Vice President Kamala Harris.
Amen.
When she was getting interrupted and she said, "Excuse me, I am speaking." And she said it more than once. So again, we go back to the perception, because I know we were like, oh man, go ahead, do your thing, sister. Do your thing. That is the ultimate example of confidence. But to audiences who did not like her, or to audience who had a different perception of her, she was being the angry black woman. They were accusing her of being disrespectful of Mr. Prince. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, but he's doing the butting in. He's doing all the wrong. So I guess I say that to say this: so much of how a woman is labeled is how a woman is perceived. And the same thing goes for men. So we have to remain open-minded. We have to remain as objective as we can when we're approaching one another, when we're dealing with others, because I think there's a time or a place before you have to take a stance, before you have to say, wait a minute, enough is enough. That doesn't make you an angry black woman, but it's how people perceive you. And I think, if if you are known to be a kind person, if you are known to be a woman of stature, if you're known to be somebody who is self-respected, then it's easy. It is very easy for guys, because guys pick up on it. I can tell. Everybody here understand the phrase hoochie.
That's right.
We know a hoochie when we see one.
That's right. Tell
and
it.
Guess what? When we see them that way, we treat them that way. And it may not necessarily be right, but if they're coming off that way, then if you're coming off as refined, if you're coming off as being totally professional, reserved, and accepting of a gentleman or of a man trying to be polite, because not all men even know how at this particular point in time. But when you can become perceptive of that or receptive of that, and have the wherewithal that if a guy comes off to you incorrectly, you can politely put him in check without coming across as being a B or coming across as being, nasty and all that stuff. So, we first have to really see what we're all about. I had to learn me before I could treat any woman the way in which she wanted to be treated. I was raised by nothing but women. I had uncles, but I was raised by women who were, guess what? You could call them strong. You could call them angry, because guess what? On any given day, they could have been either one.
That's right.
So, but a lot of times angry women get taken to that point. I guess that's my point. We will take them there, or society will take them there. So it's all about how we get along with one another, how we can be the best that we can be at every level and any interaction. And that will make the difference going forward.
Amen. All right, brothers, I'm gonna get into some deep water. Y'all swim with me. Don't leave me out here by myself, Chris. So come on now. So it was an earlier comment made by my man Holland, right? Pastor Holland. And he said something that is so true. And I remember my stepfather is 77 years old. And years ago, him and I were having this conversation. And he said, you got to understand something, son. He said, during my day, a man was defined about the kind of car he drove, the quality of clothing that he had, how much money he had, and how many women he had. He said, guys will get teased for having one woman. You got one woman. You understand what I'm saying? And some of that was cultural. Now, I'm not saying that everybody got touched by that, right? But where he was touched. And I will tell you, I remember some of that, right? And if we're honest, we probably could say we remember some of that. And the ladies likewise have had some very negative teaching too. I remember installing satellite down in Carolina, and there was a picture of this beautiful young lady on the mantle. And I told my customer, I said, oh my God, she's beautiful. I thought she was maybe in her mid-20s. The girl was 12 years old. I said, oh God, she was 12, but she looked like she was 25. Mm-hmm. And grandma said, yeah, baby, I told her she got a gold mine down there. She got a gold mine. And she said a couple of times, I stopped and I corrected her. I said, ma'am, please forgive me. I know I'm not supposed to say this, but if you teach her that her gold is below her belly button, then will she ever develop her mind? Will she ever develop character? I said all that to say this. A lot of us got some incorrect information in our formative years, and it has a great effect on how we deal with ourselves and deal with relationships. And some of us had to go through a long journey of maturation and relearning before we could get to a point where we could treat each other right. Who got something on that one?
Yeah,
go ahead,
I mean,
sir.
No, I agree with you. A lot of it has to do with what you learn growing up. What your worth is and what a woman's worth is. I know I can't speak for all guys, obviously, but quite a few of us, when you growing up, if you learn that that's what a woman is supposed to be for you, somebody that you can sleep with, somebody that's supposed to cook for you, somebody that's supposed to clean for you, somebody that's supposed to do what you tell them to do, then that can shape how you see her. So then when you see her being confident or not putting up with your mess, you thinking, oh yeah, she's angry, but she don't know how to treat a man, or she don't know how to be submissive or whatever. When no, you learned that wrong. Your daddy was wrong. Your granddaddy was wrong. Even maybe your grandmother, whoever, was wrong, or what you thought you saw your grandmother doing. You don't know the whole story because you were a child. So yeah, you did see your mother, your grandmother doing for her man, but you didn't see everything else that went on in the background. You didn't see what her man was doing for her, or what their relationship actually was. So yeah, I definitely agree with what you said.
I'm going to share a story with all of y'all. My daddy has 8 kids, 5 different women, from Pennsylvania to California. He was a mean SOB, could fight to beat the bus. Watch my daddy kill a man. But guess what? They called him Tootsie. And he had all the respect in the world because Tootsie stood for being a tall piece of dark chocolate and who was sweet on the ladies. So what do you think I was learning? Divide and conquer. Keep them in different places. Keep them where they don't come in touch with one another. This is what I was being taught. I have 2 kids, 1 wife. They both have the same mother. Now, I know circumstances change. However, do the best that you can do. Be the best you can do. If you see that there is a cycle that's going on in your family, if there's a cycle that's going on in your community, if there's a cycle that's going on anywhere where you are associated with, even in the workplace, we know right from wrong. Let's try to be that bigger and better person because it can happen. I broke the cycle. I broke the cycle of violence. I broke the cycle of multiple women. I broke the cycle of drug use. I broke the cycle of abuse. So I'm living example that it can happen. How does this happen? Each one must teach one. My daughter's 23 years old, and she's got a young man right now today. He's 24 years old, works every day. I started talking to my daughter at 16 when she first started talking about dating. What kind of man do you want? And at 16, you don't necessarily have all the answers, but she knew I'm going to have a man with an education. She said, and she didn't say what kind of education. She said, I need a man that's going to be smarter than me. I need a man that's going to work just as hard as me. I need a man that's going to respect me. And I said, well, respect you in what way? She said, never put his hands on me. I said, well, what made you say that? She said, because you never did that to mommy. So I'm patting myself on the back. I'm saying, this is what's up. I taught my daughter what to expect. And we all as a community need to get back to doing that. And it's difficult and it's a challenge because we're fighting social media. We're fighting all these other forces that are out there. But when we come in contact with people, even if it's one at a time, I got a brother I'm mentoring right now, a 19,000 team member organization, but I'm mentoring young Black men of color one at a time. Because if I can change that one life, and hopefully he can pass it on, it starts to migrate. And that's my mission.
That's right. All right, Mr. Booker, we're not gonna let you get away. We got to hear this. Come on, what you got?
Man, I mean, the word that just kept ringing in my head was relearning. I mean, like, it's the responsibility, and if you can't do it alone, sometimes it's the circle, it's the friends you keep, it's the family you keep. I mean, it's honestly got to be a personal choice to want to change like your thought processes on anything you've been exposed to, whether positive or negative. But you got to admit, it does make it easier when you got stronger people in your circle that can encourage you, that can poke you, prod you, pull your coattail and be like, hey, man, don't do that. Hey, man, don't post that. Hey, bro, I saw what happened just then. Like, your reaction, you could have went a different direction with that. And just like you take things step by step. You can't change a lot of things super fast. So you just have to get to the point where you self-evaluate and you say, hey, man, like I saw what my parents did. And my takeaways from that are like, this I learned to do. And this I saw what happened. And now I know what not to do. And share that. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we just have to share, like, in the church culture, they have this thing called testimony service. Some people can, exaggerate. But sometimes it's just a matter of just sharing things with your brothers. And I'm not saying share like talk about conquest and that's just immature. I'm saying like share like, not personal business even, but just share like, this is what happened, man. I made that same decision, bro. So, you might want to rethink what you're doing right there. Like, you build a level of respect with your peers and your sons and your neighbors sometimes. But then at the same time, it helps you also reevaluate yourself. Because if you've gotten to the point where you can share those things fully and transparently, you probably have grown through it. And you probably have come out of that situation with some knowledge that's shareable. So, I mean, it's really like relearning stuff that like, dang, that just doesn't work. Or even just being really just transparent with yourself. I mean, you gotta fix you first before you can approach anything else. I mean, it's like the Bible has like the scripture about the log in your eye and the beam or whatever like that.
That's
like,
right.
How am I gonna be that to a woman and I'm still dealing with it myself? You know what I'm saying? That's why you need to, watch your circle too.
That's right. Hey, Mickey, I'm gonna come to you in just a moment. I want to make this point. Leon and Chris have made statements about mentoring, right? Each one teach one. We have different ages on here. Mickey is a millennial, right? And Leon is what we call vintage, huh? Right? Look, ladies, he built for comfort, not speed, baby. Right? And Chris and I are just a few years apart, right? Right in the middle. So we got a little brother, two brothers, and we got a big brother, right? And this is great. Yeah, go ahead.
I gotta say it.
Go ahead.
Just because you can do it faster don't mean you can do it better.
Amen. And look, we're gonna do a whole show on that one. And my son, who was 24, he told me last night, he said, Dad, I'm just a young lion trying to learn from y'all kings. So y'all keep talking. This is great because we're sharing. And ladies, I suggest the same thing. You got to get with somebody who is where you're trying to be. And share. And I would say to the women who've been there, done that, reach out. It may be a peer. It may be a younger one. Reach out and teach somebody. Mickey, go ahead, sir.
Two things real quick. I would say too, for the guys, get into some groups with some other guys. I'm in a couple of groups on Facebook with some other Black men, and it has really opened my eyes to a lot of things, about myself. It's a lot of hurt in them groups, man. A lot of guys who I will say, I see, I would probably say they hate women, but then I had to step back and look at it. I'm like, man, somebody hurt y'all. Someone hurt you, like your mother, your sister, somebody hurt you, and you got to heal. So I say get into some groups, because sometimes it'll help you look at your situation and look at, what you need to do or take some inventory, because it made me step back some of it. And I'm like, well, do I come off like some of these guys? And if I do, why? You know what I mean? So expand your circle, even if it's not some of the people that you would call your everyday friends, just so that you can get another perspective of what is out there. And that will help you in dealing with people, other people. And the second thing I say real quick to the ladies, if there are ladies that are watching this who have children, especially who have sons, you play a large role in how men will end up seeing women, because you as a mother, you're the first woman that your boy is going to be interacting with. And so if you are walking around all the time talking about Black men ain't this, Black men ain't that, and you have this, and you thinking that they don't hear you, they hear you and they listen. And so if you're constantly saying Black men ain't this, Black men ain't that, men are bad, men are this, how is your son supposed to think of himself? What value is that man, that boy, going to put on himself as he grows up? So yes, the men, we do have a role as well, obviously, as fathers and brothers and things of that nature. But ladies, don't ever forget, you have an equally as important role when you have these young boys, these nephews, all of these things like that around you. Kids hear you. You might not think they do, but they hear you. My father tells me all the time when I say stuff, he's like, I didn't know you heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
And some more stuff too.
Yeah. So I would say those are the two things. Women, remember who's around you. Your boys are around you. And guys, do some more self-evaluating, get to know some other guys. You know, it may be for better, it may be for worse, but it should always be from a self-reflecting standpoint. You know, how do you look when you look at these other people?
Thank you for that. I'm going to deal with two issues. Two of our audience members have brought up tremendous issues. And Rachel brought this up last night. I told her I want to deal with. She said, my good friend and therapist gave my hubby the best advice. He told Colin, when you walk away, to assure me that he would come back, but to explain he needed a cool down period. See, when men stonewall or walk away, it could be a trigger of abandonment or emotional abuse. Communicate. That's awesome, because Rachel, thank you for that, because I think you just clued us into something, and you use that word trigger, right? And sometimes we don't even know that a thing is a trigger. For all of you who've been through counseling, think about before you went to counseling, right? You didn't even know you were doing certain things, or certain things were triggers. Then you get in, and after you do a deep cleansing in counseling, you learn all these different, communication skills, and you learn about yourself. And you come out saying, wow, I must have been difficult to deal with because I didn't understand this, and this. I've had that, right? I've been to some deep counseling. And Rachel, I want to hit on this because you're so right. My wife and I, we use this thing called getting through the moment, right? Both of us are very strong personality. Both of us, in many ways, can be quick-tempered. And both of us have a tongue that's sharper than any two-edged sword. And if the right button is pushed, some very interesting things can flow from it. We know that, and we know because we've been there, done that, that doesn't work for us. So as much as I love her and as much as she loved me, much as I honor and adore her and her being all that, the bottom line is two people live in the same house, sleep in the same bed, you can get on each other's nerves. But what we've learned is when you hit my button, I'm not going to react in that moment. I'm going to go walk away, go chill for a minute. And we already have this understanding, Rachel. So it's been communicated. The last word you use is communicate. We know that. I know when Tisha is giving me grace. I know it. She got a certain look, a certain way she breathes. I can look at her from the back and know, yep, she need a moment. I have just flipped that switch. And so I don't bother her. And then she'll come to me when she has processed and she's ready to talk. And now we can talk like we love each other. And same way when it's my way. But both of us know we've assured each other, listen, if I want to leave, you'll know it. It won't be no gently pulling away. What do you gentlemen think about that? Chris, I'll start with you.
Very true. I mean, I had a college professor with a psychology class that gave us this example about communication. And basically it was like, the scenario is like this. You have two children, they're twins, a boy and a girl, they're in the driveway playing. And the little boy falls off the big wheel. Like, what's your first knee-jerk response? The typical response to the boy gender is get up, you're gonna be all right, fix your problem, get back on the bike. You carry on with your business. This typical response to the girl is, come here, let me grab you, pick you up, pull you away from the problem. Talk to me. Let me kiss your boo-boo. Explain what you have and what you feel is important to me. So you do this for a number of years and you've conditioned the boys to not talk, solve your own problems, get up, you're going to be all right. And then you condition the women on another side of the spectrum to value communication, value someone to listen, value someone to help you solve your problem and work you through it. Value the power of touch. So in these two ends of a spectrum as adults, like we're on two ends of a spectrum when it comes to any type of communication, because I mean, it could be something as simple as having a hard day at work. Most women are going to react totally different than a man is going to react from a hard day at work. Just simple. So imagine how relationally we interact off of the same stimuli. You know what I'm saying? Like Carl said, same house, same bed. You can see the very same thing two totally different ways. So even coming back to perception, you know how hard it is just to deal with things off of two different perceptions. How much harder is that when you have to involve, now I have to verbalize my thoughts on what I perceive. And if you get stonewalled, it's like challenging to even open your mouth sometimes when you feel like, wow, this person ain't really listening to me. They're not open. They already have their perception set and they feel a way about this or about me. So sometimes men, I won't say we don't want to talk, but sometimes because women tend to be better communicators at times, we feel like, okay, what's the point in me interjecting? You got it. My job is just to go actually do something and fix it, but I'll let you talk.
All right, Mr. Leon, what you got on that?
Wow, very good point. I think I'm just going to start on the back end and back up to the front. The last word in the original comment was talking about communicate, and it was put out there in caps. You know, one of the things that's very helpful for any relationship is to know your mate, know your partner, and learn about them early on. Don't try to learn as you go along. Look for the early signals. Don't try to fix somebody, you know, because I tell my wife, and I've told her after all these years, you knew what you was getting into. And I don't say that in a bad way, but we all have ways about ourselves. Now, the reason why I say communicate up front and communicate early and communicate often is because you know when you hit that, when you push that button. And don't be afraid to give your partner some space. When you give your partner space, they'll come back around. My wife and I, we have certain triggers. We also have certain ways in how we want to make up. Sometimes my wife has told me it took me over 20 years to figure out that, you know what, whether you're right or wrong, you know, tell her you're sorry, apologize. I couldn't do it. And at that, once that has happened, and not that I'm right all the time, not that she's wrong all the time, I just had a problem with apologizing. But once I figured out it's not always about me and it's not always about how I feel, but how I can make her feel that I value your opinion. I'm sorry if you felt like I devalued it. I just don't agree. So at that particular point, we've now learned that we know what our triggers are. So the giving each other all that space, it happens very infrequently. And when it does, we let it ride itself out because this sounds like a cliche, but love does in fact conquer all. And that's the reality.
That's right. Mickey, what you got, brother?
I agree. Communication is important. I personally hate for somebody to turn their back and just walk away and not say anything, like not acknowledge that we're having an issue, not acknowledge, or, you know, let me know what you're going to, because you just turn your back and walk away on somebody without saying anything. That's disrespectful. So that's going to cause my reaction to be completely different. And see, my wife, she would just do that. She would walk away, and I had to let her know, like, look, that's not really going to work. Because it's rude, it's disrespectful. You at least got to say something. You let me know you need a minute. You know, do I know in my head that you need a minute? Sure. But I need you to communicate that, you know, because I don't want to assume. So, you know, everybody's triggers are different. You know, my dad would just roll out and not say anything. You know what I mean? So I mean, and Carl, you know my dad, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So that doesn't work for me, you know, that because that's a trigger. That doesn't work. And I, you know, question, you know, for Mr. Leon, you know, you're OG, and I heard you say, you know, like just apologize, whether you're right or wrong and whatnot. And so for a lot of guys, especially a lot of younger guys, myself included, if this is a situation where we are literally not wrong, how does apologizing, doesn't that do more damage? Doesn't that feed her more and make her feel as though whatever she says is right? I mean, that is something that a lot of women, in my opinion, have an issue with, is they think they are always right all the time. So if there's I know there's rarely a situation where both parties are not somewhat wrong, but let's say you're not wrong. Do you then just go apologize? You know, or how does that make you feel as a person?
Get him, OG. Get him.
It actually makes me feel like I'm a bigger person. And I'm not apologizing because I'm wrong. Because at the end of the day, she knows. My partner, my wife, you've been with me long enough. We know the difference in right and wrong. If I apologize to you, sometimes I'm just saying, you know what, babe? I love you just the same. And I'm sorry because I don't want to trigger you. I'm sorry because I don't want this to get any worse than what it already is. I'm not sorry for my beliefs. I'm not eating my words. I'm not chewing on. I'm not saying that you're right and I'm wrong. All I said was that I'm sorry. And so it's okay for us to have differences, but if we have differences and we push buttons to the point where we're ready to walk out on a relationship or walk away, then you know what? I'd much rather just say, you know what? I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah.
And and then she'll say, well, don't patronize me. Well, that's a topic for another conversation. But it's not about patronizing as much as saying, I love you enough that I am not going to continue to battle with you. I know how you feel, you know how I feel, and we can come back to this thing and figure out how we're going to work it out. There's very little that can happen in a relationship that you can't fix. There are some things that are unfixable, but most of the time, there's very little that can go on in a relationship or a marriage that you cannot fix. But somebody at some point in time has to be the bigger person. And I'm not doing it, like I said, because I'm wrong or I'm telling you you're right. I never said you was right. I just said I'm sorry. I'm sorry we got to this point.
That's right.
And that's
Hey,
how-
listen.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
One of the ladies had a comment. She said, sometimes you got to agree to disagree.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
we'll come back later. This is going to be one of the last things we tackle today, but this is a big one. Kimberly Cates Bell, she asked this question. How do you think black men, I'm going to put it up here. This is a great question, Kim. How do you think black men can start to rebuild the respect for black women culturally now besides the changes within the household? So she's saying not just in your household, but how do we help the general perception to get rid of that angry black woman and to help people to understand that beautiful, talented, creative, strong black woman? Chris, I'm gonna ask you to start on that one.
To me, it's as easy as what I learned as a child. Biggest thing for me as a child was family. I think family really is the answer to that question, culturally, because culturally that's what people see. The lack of the visibility of a strong black family, of a combined black unit, that's what's hurting us culturally right now. I mean, whether it be media, I mean, I get it. Bill Cosby did some stupid stuff, but like when I was a kid, like that's what we aspired to be. Like the dad was a doctor, the mom was like a lawyer.
Yeah.
The kids, they act like they had good sense. Like we wanted to be them. And then a couple years later, they brought on like different world. There were black people in college. Like, what in the world? You know what I'm saying? So when you see that, it makes you want to aspire to be that. And it makes you curious enough to learn the steps that it takes to get to that. When you don't see strong black families, when you don't see fathers in the household, when you don't see fathers at the park playing with their kids, it's like you lack that exposure. So it's like culturally, it fits the bill when they say black men don't do this, black men don't do that, black women are angry, this, that, and the third, because you don't see us together. You don't see, you know what I'm saying? And it just almost perpetuates the stereotype. I feel like really like if we become the visible black family again, like I think we'll fix and become the solution for our own issues. And that way, even the people on the outside looking in, they'll start to, be like, wow, I got to respect that. I mean, I look at television and I laugh sometimes. It's like, why is it every time you see a black man on a television show, he got to be fruity or got to be beating on his wife or cheating on his wife? Like, that's a stereotype. That's a perception. And when you constantly see that and it's, conditioned into your brain, that's what people aspire to be. So I think, going backwards, we got to go back to that, grandmother's home, granddad, he works and she's fixing his plate. The son and the daughter, they married, they got kids, they loving on them. They, when we see that, we want to be that.
Amen. Mickey Leon, what do you think that black men can do to change the cultural perception of the angry black woman?
So there's a lot that black men can do, but I think, okay, so I don't want to come off wrong. So, all right, for what can black men do? We can actually get to know some other black women outside of, the ones that we just may be attracted to, or the ones that we see on Instagram that look good and we're following them and all of that stuff. And I guess I'm speaking more to like, my age demographic and a little bit younger. But you need to get to know some other Black women as well on a platonic level, so that you can understand what they go through and what their feelings are, how they feel and see things day to day. So let's start there. Next, I will say, like, some of the things, man, we got to stop passing off as entertainment, right? As when we see, like Chris said, you know, you see the images on TV, like we see the images of how Black women are portrayed on TV, how Black men are portrayed on TV. And, you know, some of us, a lot of times we pass it off as entertainment. Like, we got to stop normalizing that type of thing. And I will say, Black women, y'all have a role in that too, with the way that you guys are portrayed and what you allow and what you watch. Love and Hip Hop, Basketball Wives, and things of that nature. Y'all see that and we see that. So a lot of us, like, we see you treat each other, we see Black women treat other Black women without respect. We see you disrespect them. So some of us who are not as strong-minded and don't know any better or don't have that upbringing or whatnot, it's like, oh, well, I mean, they disrespecting each other. You know, why are you mad at me for calling you a bitch when that's how y'all treat each other? Y'all fight, y'all are disrespectful, y'all mean, y'all talk about each other's hair, you do all of the things to each other, and then you mad when we look at you that way. So we as a culture, I think we have to stop embracing these things that are entertainment, because you look around, ain't no who else does that? Who else is portrayed on TV like a joke in such a way like us? Nobody. So it starts with us as a culture. If we want to rebuild that respect, we got to respect ourselves, man. You know, like, you got to control. This stuff is on TV because we watch it, you know, and because we accept it. We got to stop that. You know, Black men, and then Black men, I would say, since that was the question, another thing, we got to call each other out. You know, I think Chris has said it. You know, you see somebody saying something, doing something that's kind of sideways, and that's your boy or something like that. You know, hit him in his inbox or something like that and say, hey, man, I get it. But you probably should have approached that a little bit different. He might get mad, but he might not. He might get mad, but he might hear you too. So everybody, we need to hold each other accountable, because we have to have us. They don't have us. We got to have us.
Amen to that. Leon, what you got,
Wow.
sir?
I mean, you guys really summed it up nicely. I'm thinking, okay, Love and Hip Hop, Black Ink Crew, all these shows that Real Housewives of Atlanta, all these shows that are depicting these sisters in this way. And my daughter watched them all. She still does, probably. But every time I got the chance, I would tell her, I sure hope you're looking at this so that you can see what not to do, or so that you can see how not to be. And she said, yeah, Daddy, that's that. Yeah, I'm not going to be anything like that. I said, okay, because I just want to let you know I'm watching you. And if you start acting like them, we got to have a different conversation. I was very hard on my daughter, but I love her to death, and she knows it. And I wasn't abusive. I was just stern in letting her know, if you don't respect yourself, these people, these guys in particular, are not going to respect you. As far as what can we do for our community, what can we do going forward, I'm going back to Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change that you want to see in this world. And we can say, be the change that you want to see in your household. Be the change that you want to see in your community. And guess what? We are all, particularly those of us that have careers, those of us that are gainfully employed, those of us that have a voice, those of us who have any presence in society, we all should know this. You are always on stage. And I'm not always on stage for the white man. I'm not always on stage for the people out in the street. I'm not always on stage for my patients. I'm on stage for my son. I'm on stage for my daughter. And I would take them to places so that you can see this could be you if you don't get your crap together. So we need to be the change that we want to see, and we need to show it. We need to proudly show it. Don't just keep it behind closed doors. Let the world see that you're a good Black man. Let the world see that you put your wife, your spouse, your partner on a pedestal. Let the world see that you know how to give respect, because people are always watching, and there will be some who will emulate you. And like I said, each one has to teach one.
Amen. I want to answer that the best I can. I heard one of the comments. I saw one of the comments that said it starts in the home. I absolutely believe that. And Kim, I'm gonna slow walk this answer. In my home, I try to be the 5 P's: the protector, the provider, the priest, the prophet, and the patriarch. I have to start at home because I can't be something to the outside world that I can't even be at home, because my wife and children will see me as being unauthentic, right? And I can't build this great reputation outside of the home, and all of them looking at me sideways because they know that when I get home, I'm not that person, right? So charity starts at home. So I'm going to be that. And then outside of my home, I want to be the reflection of Christ. Not that I am a preacher, but I don't have to preach all the time. My actions and my presence ought to exude the presence of Christ, right? And we can do that without using the thusest and the thousands and calling out everybody's sin and all this. Go read about Christ. He didn't operate like that. He dealt in love. And even when he corrected, he did it gracefully, except when he had to deal with them crazy Pharisees and Sadducees, right? So that's the person I'm trying to be. And I'm going to say something, fellas, and this may not sit well with all fellas, but I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. We have to be a little better at being brothers to our sisters. And I don't mean just the sisters that your mother bore. When I look at these names on this thread here: Alyssa, Rachel, Kim, Monica. These are women, and all of them beautiful. But when they think of me, I know they don't think of somebody that's trying to get with him. And I'm not a different person in front of them. And I never seen Rachel face to face, but I'm no different outside of the presence of my wife than I am in the presence of my wife. And these young, pretty girls that I work with every day, you know what I am to them? Hey, Mr. Armstrong. Hey, sweetie, how you doing? I become a father. A father. And fathers don't do certain things with their daughters. Need I say anymore? So that is Carl Armstrong's contribution to changing the perception of the angry black woman. Number one, to treat you with respect and honor, and allow everybody else to see me treating you with respect and honor. I don't allow nobody to come to me and talk no trash about my sisters, even if it's true. You understand? I don't allow nobody from other cultures to come and, oh, no. I don't play that game. I'm going to stop that right there. I'm not going to let you get away with it, because if I do that, I allow you to perpetuate an unfair stereotype. So my answer may not be the answer. It's an answer, and it is my contribution to totally having our women be accepted in a positive light. Okay. And I think Kim is talking about that right now. Let's not feed into the stereotypes. Kim, you're right. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm going to do the best I can at treating these ladies like sisters. And fellas, I'm going to say something else. And this is something I hold near and dear to my heart. I shared this with my mother, I think it was last year, but I have been of this mindset for the past few years. A black woman have a hard way to go in this world. Will we agree? And an unattractive black woman, it must be hell. I have learned to absolutely fall in love, and I don't mean that romantic type of thing, when I see unattractive sisters. Listen how people talk about them. Observe how many times are they touched, right? God has placed beauty in all of us. She may not be the picture of attractive beauty to the eye. Spend some time with her. What's wrong with greeting her the same way you greet that girl on the scale of 1 to 10 that she's a 22? You grin every time she come around you, knowing if your wife saw it, she slapped teeth out your mouth, right? But how about that girl on the scale of 1 to 10? She may be a 1 or a 2. Have you taken the time to get to know her? She is valuable. She is someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's sister. We have to respect her. We have to honor her. We have to let her sit at the table with the cool kids. That's another way. And sisters, I give you that same responsibility. We're going to have to do a better job at those who can be considered unattractive or castaways. They need us. And I'm going to stand in the gap. And I encourage you to do the same. Amen. So brothers, we're going to wrap right there. I'm going to tell you what we wrapped with last night. I'm going to give y'all a minute to touch on it because we wrapped last night with making love is not only for the bedroom. As men, we have to titillate and stimulate this part of our woman, because the way we deal with them, I'm talking about our woman and not somebody else's woman, our woman, the way that we deal with them can't just be on the physical level. And I'm gonna let the brothers deal with that, and then we're gonna get up out of here. I have to let you deal with that. Who wants first?
I'll go ahead and get me out of the way real quick.
All right.
You know, you know, we keep going back. True love, successful relationships really are fundamental. We a lot of times try to make them more than what they really are. We need to love our women unconditionally. We need to constantly communicate that to them. There should be no doubt as to how our women feel about us. And when you do that enough, it not only becomes something that you get used to, but it actually becomes a core expectation. And it's a core expectation, not only what my wife has of me, but it's a core expectation as to what I have of myself. And in doing that, I think having that and getting to her mentally, getting her in the right place, with her getting me in the right place just as well, that's when you create what we call true harmony. And when you have harmony, no man. What does it say when you take your vows? What God has put together, let no man put us under.
That's right.
I'm just saying, if he put us together mentally, physically, and emotionally, can't nobody put us under. And we just need to keep that in mind. Now, I understand things don't work out from time to time, but at the end of the day, if that's what you're striving for, life is good. Life is real good. That's all I got to say. I appreciate
All right.
it.
No problem. Mickey, what you got?
I'm just listening, man, for that one. I agree. I think at the bottom line, end of the day, like Mr. Leon said, we gotta love our women, and Carl, like you said, not just always the person that you would, not just in that romantic way. In general, you have to be, if you're gonna be a friend, if you're gonna be a friend to a woman that you are not romantically with, then be her friend. Don't slide the little side comments in, trying to keep the door open or whatnot. Be her friend, offer her advice. If she's dealing with these guys and these guys are not, or she's about to make a stupid decision, give her the wisdom of, from a man's point of view, and whether she take it or not, that's on her. But give her that wisdom, especially when you see yourself or what you used to be in some of these guys they're dealing with, give her that. Say, look, nah, I can tell you right now what's about to happen, and run it down for her. I've done it for many of my female friends. Run it down for her. She ain't gonna listen to you that first time. She might not listen that second time, but that third time, she's gonna be looking at you like you are a Jedi master. Like, how did you know he was gonna do that?
Because I did
Because I'm telling you, that is that's what it is. So, if you're gonna be friends, because they say men and women can't be friends. Men and women can be friends, man. But you gotta, as a man, if that's your friend, let that be your friend. So I think that's one of the main things that we can do to help women feel more protected.
Yeah.
Hey man. Oh, wise one, Chris, what you got?
Nah, man, I totally agree with Mr. Leon and Mickey, man. I mean, I I've just learned in the recent past, man, just like we as men just have to do a better job of being protectors of our village. You know what I'm saying? And that's not just the person that we're, romantically involved with. Like our village is, you know, those other sons and daughters that live next door and down the block, the kids we see playing in the street, nieces and nephews. I mean, even like if it's a female at the job, like sometimes it's just as simple as just giving a genuine compliment and keep it moving. Sometimes it's just as simple as if the input is asked for, just give the truthful input and keep it moving. I mean, I grew up in church, so Bible just comes to my head sometimes, and it's a scripture that talks about one plants a seed and another waters the seed, and then God gives the increase.
That's right.
Like, we can't expect to heal every woman. We can't expect in just one conversation to heal ourselves. But if we apply certain things that we hear, we take inventory of ourselves and see ourselves in other situations. Like you don't always have to go through something to learn it. Sometimes I can learn from my man right there, and just him explaining something to me, I can be like, wow. So I mean, if we love on people like that and show that same degree of care, male and female, man, it's just that's just an amazing place to be because then we're all grown.
Amen. This is what I'm going to do right before we get out of here. One final round robin. If there's anything that we didn't cover, maybe it's something that you want to say, maybe you want to push your business or something you're working on, I want you to have that time. Start with you, Leon, then Mickey, then Chris.
I'm good. I just want to thank everybody for this amazing opportunity. I think everything was awesome. Be you, be the best you that you can be. I guarantee you that your life will get better as a result of that. To my sisters out there, we love you. We don't always know how to act, but we'll come around. We didn't get this way overnight, and we're not going to fix it overnight. So give it some time. Teach us, teach us by shedding expectations. You don't have to be labeled as an angry black woman. You don't have to be angry, but remain confident, remain strong, stand for what you believe in. Don't lay down. Stand for what you believe in, but help us by sharing with us how you want to be treated. That's all I got to say.
Amen. Thank you. Mickey.
I just say, first of all, Carl, thank you for having me on and providing this platform. I think it's important and it's amazing. Every time, it's always a good time. Mr. Leon, I appreciate your wisdom and advice, as an OG in the game. I really do. Chris, it's great talking with you, man, and hearing what you had to say as well. I will say my advice is for ladies, talk to your male friends, call your brothers out, call people out, the guys. And we all need to maybe not call each other out so much openly on social media and in the blogs and things of that nature, because everybody else is watching. We can still keep everybody accountable, but we need to do it inside and in our communities and whatnot. And it'll be a little bit less painful that way. If you as a woman call your homeboy out over there, it can change his behavior because you gave him from a loving perspective one-on-one, as opposed to if you got on his Facebook page and publicly embarrassed him in front of other people. Men have fragile egos, as many of you know. And don't make it right, because we need to do the same thing for the women. Don't get up there and embarrass your friend, but, hit her on the side and say, hey, let's talk about this. So I think that's what we should do. In terms of continuing the conversation, I mean, my podcast is From the Minds of Black Men. 2021 for me is all about pushing that forward, giving the Black men an opportunity to speak and to have a voice about many different topics, many different issues and whatnot. So, find me. I'm on all the podcast platforms and YouTube as well. And then Building Black Wealth and Success is my YouTube channel that is coming up now, where I'm going to be talking to not just entrepreneurs, but anybody that I come across that's successful and Black, so that we can show and see there are successes in many different ways. You don't have to just be a successful entrepreneur. Maybe you got a X amount of years in the service and you got awarded for that. That needs to be highlighted. Right. You know what I mean? So that's my 2021. That's what I'm all about, is promoting Black excellence, men and women, and things of that nature. So thank you very much.
Hey, Mickey, make sure you type that into the thread so that everybody can see it. I want everybody to be able to grab that, okay?
Okay, will do.
Thank you. Chris.
Yeah. Hey, amazing conversation, guys. Thank you for having me, Carl. Man, my takeaway, man, I probably would just say, man, just try to be your best version of you and be authentic. Because you never know really who's watching. You know, a lot of times we aspire to be these major great things, and you know, your next door neighbor that cuts your grass, the little boy, the little girl that's playing in the yard all the time, they're giving you clues to let you know they want your help, they want your input. And sometimes we can be so focused on this huge thing that we're trying to be a part of and trying to, you know, build legacy. Your legacy is next door, you know what I'm saying, that come bring your newspaper every day. And we miss that opportunity because we just kind of see it as small. But sometimes, man, just listen. Just listen. I mean, people hurt, you know, people in distress, the state of the world right now is crazy. You know, you just got to learn to listen through stuff, man. There's a lot of hurt people, and we misinterpret it as anger. We misinterpret it as showing out and doing different things. Just be there for the people that's in your circle. You know what I'm saying? I think that's just an amazing place to be. To have friends, family, learn things, and be able to share things to help other people get out. You know, so
That's right. I'm gonna share two things, and this coming from the well, so I hope it helps somebody. Uh, I'm on my second marriage. My first marriage failed, and that did something to me because I love hard. And when I stood in that church and made that promise to my first wife and to all the family members that were there and to God, I meant every word of it. And I went to the ends of the earth to try to do what was good and right. My Uncle Junior, after it was all over, he pulled me aside. He gave me some advice. He said, son, the elders in the family watched you do everything possible to save that marriage. He said, that was a mistake, son. You should have done everything reasonable, and then you should have left. Now, that's not what the Bible says, right? He gave some sage advice from his life experience, but I understand what he meant. And I'm saying this to all men and women. In our relationships, let's make sure that we have rational, reasonable, realistic expectations. And let's be very good at advocating for ourselves. No one is a mind reader. I don't care how long you've been with your husband or wife, they can't read your mind. Now, they know you very well, but the onus is on you to communicate what you need and what you want. And you got to ask yourself, is this thing that I'm trying to get from him or her, is it realistic? Is it reasonable? Is it rational? That will help. And that's the last thing I'll say, and this comes from the scripture. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pitchers of silver. Always, always, always have a kind word. Even when you must correct, even when you must discipline, whatever it is, and we're not disciplining our wives, talking about children and whatever it is. A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pitchers of silver. A kind word is a good word, and it is powerful. All right. So to my panel, these men are tremendous. Mr. Leon, Mr. Mickey, Mr. Chris, I say thank God for you. Thank you for sharing this hour and a half with me. And to my audience, you guys hung tough. I really, truly, sincerely hope that what we shared today will be helpful to you. I'm so serious. Now, I want y'all to know something. The first weekend in February, and I think those dates are either the 5th or the 6th or the 6th or the 7th, I'm coming back with this part of the series. But we're not going to have a women's panel or a men's panel. We're going to have a mixed panel. The men and women are going to get together. We're going to bring our notes, and we're going to help each other because these type of conversations are healthy. I think Chris said that earlier in the conversation. We have to do this. This is helpful to all of us, and we're going to get it together. We're going to do our part to help each other. I love all of you. You are beautiful in your own right. And until next time, may God bless you and may heaven smile upon you. Good evening.